There is the river of time. That's a description of the impermanence. That's a description of the constant movement of life. So the Tao expresses itself through the constant movement of life. Everything's moving, and that movement is nourished by the Tao. It's an expression of the Tao. So when everything's moving, it goes through the river of time, because we all were 1 year old, 2 years old, 10 years old, and so on. But when trauma hits that river and freezes part of that river, a part of us is being unhooked or gets kind of locked in time. So then time, instead of being a river, a flow, becomes a thing. It becomes a frozen part or a held part. That held part shows up as tension in my body, shows up as a circular pattern. I experience certain things again and again. I feel my solar plexus getting tight periodically. I feel that I create similar conversations or similar situations with people. So there is a circular energy. But the fact is that a part of us, like as if life calls us back constantly to show us, but it often doesn't happen, to show us that here is something stuck. Because that part wants to become the river again. But if not, then it looks like a stone in the river. But it's not a stone in the river, it's just a frozen river. It's not something other that blocks the river. But we experience it often subjectively as if it blocks the river. But that otherness, whatever that is in us, it's a tension in my solar plexus, is other. Not I'm tightening my solar plexus when you say that to me. It's like you said it and my solar plexus got tight, or my heart closed, or my throat got tight. It's other. I don't say I contracted my throat when you said that. We hardly hear that. There's a reason, because we don't experience it like that. It looks like other because it's partly unconscious. So that frozen river is frozen in time. And when that's in early childhood development, then it looks like, it's just like space. It's like something is never ending. It will never end. But the sense it never ends means something got frozen very early in the spaciousness of very small babies. And it's never ending. Because it's not informed yet. It's not in form yet. It didn't become a form yet. Once that becomes a form, it lives in the world. When it's before the form, it lives in space. That's why we sometimes, when that gets triggered, we don't feel oriented in our life. We can deal with the matters of our life because we cannot even relate to that, because that's form and that part of me is formless. But it's that the difference is that that's not the formlessness of deep meditation. I wanted to differentiate this because for many spiritual practitioners, people say, oh, there is no time, really. And I don't think that that's true. There is time. And there is timelessness, and timelessness hosts time. Because my body goes through time, and my development goes through time, and maturation goes through time. The world's maturation goes through time. And deep, like spaciousness, like in our meditation, and spaciousness is calm, becomes more and more still, becomes more and more timeless. Timeless is deeply magnetic. And there is no time, because it's timeless. It's before time. But it doesn't mean that our existence is not living in time. And when we develop deeper meditation practice, then the capacity to witness the river of time is growing. More and more capacity to witness the process. And there are different stages of witnessing, but that's different. So that's timelessness and the river of time. And when we engage in trauma healing, we find the frozen parts in the river of time when somebody got hurt at age 1 or age 5 or age 10. or later. So we learn to find those where the patterns are being created through introspection and reflection, relational practices, and bring those back into a melting process, layer by layer by layer, so that art can join the water again. And then it becomes river. And what's the river? Our soul, the impulse of life, spirit. So spirit is movement, our soul is movement. So the light is moving. And the physical expression of it is the data flow through our body, through our spine, through our brain, and all the different other movements it creates in our body. In the trauma healing, we are dissolving the crystallized pockets that are unhooked, that are frozen in time. That's why there is a regression possible. When that melts, it becomes flow. You can't go back. Why? Because there is no back. Back is a location. And people say, I fell back into a pattern, or when it came again, then it means there's a location. But when that location joins the river, there's water, like there's flow. There's no back. And that is freedom. So when we become aware of those pockets of frozenness, of trauma, and it melts step by step and skillfully, it becomes movement. But it doesn't have a frozen location to come back to. Now it's part of the orchestra. It's part of the experience. And that's why usually we don't have questions in areas of our life that are flowing. Because they're anyway flowing. There's no question. The question comes around the stones in the river, because there the water creates turbulences, small spirals. And those spirals show up in us as subjective questions. Should I do this or this? What's my purpose? Am I safe? How is it? What should I do? What are we going to do? These are water circles around stones that are individual, ancestral, or collective trauma contractions or freeze that need our attention. So the question is actually an amazing signpost to the stone. And if we have certain questions over and over again, instead of trying to answer them in the same way we tried already, we can say, so when that didn't work already 5 times, most probably when I do it the same way, it won't work again. So how can the question be a signpost to something deeper?